So the interest rates are finally starting to come down a little bit. So what does that mean for you as a buyer? What that could possibly mean is you're about to go into a competitive market. In a competitive market, you want your offer to stand out. But this is the thing. How do you know how to make your offer stand out? Well, follow me the next 10 minutes and I'm going to give you a walkthrough of how to make your offer stand out from the rest. So smart buyers understand that a well-crafted offer is going to combine strategy, preparation, and understanding what the seller actually is needing or wanting. So I'm about to share 5 proven steps that are going to help you get the keys to your dream home. So regardless if you're a first-time home buyer or if you've done this numerous times before, you're just looking to upgrade or even downsize, either which way, these 5 proven steps can mean the difference in getting your offer accepted or watching the other buyer walk away with the keys. So the first step is we're going to work on getting our pre-approval, not a pre-qualification. Pre-qualification is just an educated guess that your lender is giving you. And that's just saying, hey, based on what this person's told me, I feel like we can extend a loan. But a pre-approval, your lender has already looked at your assets. They've looked at your financials. They went through your employment history. They went through everything that they really need to see and laid eyes on it. And they can really commit to saying, yes, this person is pre-approved and we can loan them XYZ to getting this property. So there is a huge difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. You bring a seller a pre-approval, they're going to love you a lot more because that's going to show them that you're actually serious about getting that property. So I'm going to tell you a little tip, okay? Find you a local lender and use them because us as realtors, we love to see that, hey, here's a local lender that we know, we trust. They got a reputation of closing on time. They got a reputation of closing and not just blowing smoke up. So a local lender that has a good reputation is always an extra bonus. So step 2 in crafting a perfect offer is make sure you're offering competitive terms, not just competitive price. And what that means is sometimes the seller might need a longer closing date or they might need a shorter closing date. Make sure you're very flexible with your closing date because that flexibility could be everything to that seller. Make sure you're not asking for a ton of contingencies because that doesn't look very good to sellers. If you've got to sell 3 properties and you've got to wait for, the next red moon or something like that, that's not going to look great for the seller. So the less contingencies, the better. One other thing that you can do, I'm not a huge fan of, but you could do an appraisal gap addendum. In a very competitive market, that is common. In a not so competitive market, I don't know that I would really stress upon that. So that could be if the appraisal comes in $5,000 lower, we'll cover that out of pocket. That's what an appraisal gap addendum means. Now, keep in mind, as you're working on this offer, you want to be strategic, but you don't want to cut your own throat at the same time. So as you're offering these terms, make sure it's not going to be something that could significantly financially impact you to where you can no longer afford this deal. So step 3 could be crafting an excellent email that is including your offer into it. Now, when I say crafting a good email, that does not mean including a love letter because we are no longer allowed to do that. Love letters are when you say, hey, I have a family of 5. We really need this home. We're not allowed to do that anymore because of fair housing regulations. However, what you can do is tell them what you loved about their home, why you love their home. Is it the location? Is it how well they maintain their home? And then your realtor could also include why the other realtor would love to work with him. Are you responsive? Do you aim towards getting the job done and making sure that, any hurdles that may come around, you're navigating them easily and you're willing to work with that other agent to get these things resolved, to get any issues resolved. Them are the type of things that you can include in the email. Just try to steer clear of anything that could be a fair housing violation. So step 4 to making a very solid offer is, let's just say you're an FHA buyer or you're a conventional loan buyer and you have a down payment. Go ahead and submit a bank statement to that seller's agent. I mean, of course, take your account number out, but go ahead and show them that you actually have the funds for your down payment, even though you really don't have to do that. But go ahead and submit that so they know you're very serious. You have the money for your down payment. You have the money for the closing costs minus what you may be asking. If you're asking them to pay half the closing costs, then submitting a bank statement that shows that you have the money for the other half of the closing costs, that could show exactly how serious you are and that, we're not going to get to the end of the purchase or to the contract. And oops, I don't have all the money to complete this. You could also have a letter from your lender or something of that nature that's saying, yes, so and so can close early, or if the seller needs to close late, yes, this would not pose a problem that could create a roadblock or anything like that. So step 5, we want to work with a knowledgeable real estate agent. Now, does this mean an agent that's been in the business for 15 to 20 years and that tells you how knowledgeable? No. It could be an agent who just started. It could be an agent who's been here for 20 years, as long as they know what our market is doing. And if they know some of the other agents in the market, then that's also an added benefit because then they already have that rapport. They already know, okay, well, that agent's a little tough to work with. So I'm going to have to go a little bit harder or something. As long as they understand what the other agents in our market are doing, that's going to be an added benefit. So outside of having market knowledge and knowing the other agents in the area, we also want them to have really good negotiation skills. So how do you know that if you've never been in a deal with them? It's really hard to know that. But you can ask them, can you give me some examples of what you would say in this type of scenario? I mean, you're interviewing them. These are the people who that's handling the most expensive transaction that you're likely to ever make. So it's okay to interview them. Ask them what you would do if we ever got into this type of situation, or, ask them these questions so you know what type of agent you're working with. Okay, so now we're going to look for transaction management. Now, what does that mean? That means an agent who they say, I'm going to send you a CMA on this property and it's going to tell you XYZ. Then I'm going to call you while you're looking through it. Or if you're local, I'm a realtor out of Fort Bragg. So a lot of my buyers are in different states. So I got to keep in mind, sometimes we do have local buyers, but if you're local, then you guys can sit down at the table together and you can go over what the CMA is telling you. So if I offer $300,000, is it going to appraise for that? Or am I going to be out my due diligence money? Things like that. You want somebody who can get you the information when you need it, how you need it, and efficient, the accurate information that you need. Looking for an agent who's knowledgeable in your target areas is another thing that you really need. And that's just because if they don't know anything about this gated community down the way, but you're about to make an offer in it, how can they really lead you if they can't even lead themselves? And that's not saying they're not a good agent. They're just not knowledgeable in that area. Now, all of these things are a way to make a very solid offer, because that other agent on the other side is advising their seller. They're advising their seller. They're saying, you know what, this offer came from an agent that I've seen them make so many fumbles, and they're not a very good agent. They've made some very unethical moves in the past. And, these things, they make a difference. We do talk to our clients. So, make sure you have that good agent with a good standing, with a lot of knowledge in your corner, so that listing agent for the home that you love is giving them a good shout out to their seller. All right, so now let's go ahead and recap our 5 steps. Now, our first step was, let's get that pre-approval. Let's make sure that the seller knows that we are qualified. Let's make sure the seller knows that we are serious. The second step was, we're going to offer competitive terms. That doesn't just mean price. That means It can be your closing date. It can be less contingencies. It could be an appraisal gap addendum. It can be a lot of different things. Make sure your realtor is looking at the market. Do we need to go this distance? Are we really competing? Your agent needs to find all this out before you start throwing stuff out there, because you don't want to throw stuff out there that you don't need to throw out there. But make sure you're bringing some competitive terms. And say, third, make sure you're including a letter that is not a love letter, that's not telling them all about your dear grandma who loves this style house. Nothing that's going to violate fair housing. We're just going to tell them what we love about their home. We're going to tell them what we love about the area and how we feel about the way they've maintained the home. And then your realtor may include a little bit about him or her. I've been a realtor for XYZ, and I've had this many transactions. I've never had to cancel a transaction because my inability to do the transaction or something like that, And then, of course, fifth, we're going to make sure we're working with a great agent who does not have a bad reputation. We want that agent who other agents know to be a great agent and to be knowledgeable. And the reason we want that other agent to know that our agent is knowledgeable, because that listing agent doesn't want to walk into it thinking, I'm going to be doing the whole dang thing because this other agent doesn't know what they're doing. Because he has influence over that seller. So that's it. That's your 5 steps that you want to make sure you're touching to make your offer stand out. All right, guys. So in today's market, preparation and strategy will take you so much further than just simply offering a higher price. So make sure your realtor is strategizing this for you. And if you want this in a PDF form so that way you can reflect back on it, just leave your email down below in the comments, or you could even contact me at 910-587-0076. I would love to chat with you about how to get your offer accepted.